what guided teaches. Looking back on your life, when was the first time you felt someone was watching you? When was the first time you heard someone talking to you in your head? You looked around and saw that nobody was there, when in fact there were many. You began to weigh conversations with these elusive friends. You started feeling comfortable talking to them, playing in their presence as they showed you new things. You were learning through experience. You were beginning to self-realize. That's what we're talking about today. What do we have, Ray? Let me know who's on.
Well,
okay.
We have Joy.
All right.
Hannah Marie, Bridget.
Okay, good. We're glad to have
everybody.
All right, and what we're looking for, you guys, and we know you all got the insight today, and you read through it, and you've gotten guided, you've read guided, and a lot of you really understand what this is in terms of having read it many times and being with us live so many times, and then working through my guided journey. You guys were the early adopters of that, and so we're looking for questions about what guided teaches, what it's taught you. You know, who was watching you when you were a little kid? When you became comfortable talking to them, that probably happened around 2 or 3 years old, if you can remember that. And as you were doing this, you were realizing yourself as you moved through it. And then separations started to creep in. That's when people started asking you who you were talking to. And then you hit that crossroads where the consequences of being a unique person became too much, so you started to become like the other kids. You tried that on for a while, and the lessons you learned from choosing to fit in would eventually lead you back to your real self. I mean, the pain gets to be so much that it might be that we're in our 50s or 60s or even 70s before we make that turnaround, and we go back to the beginning, and we reclaim ourselves, and we move forward from that, and then all of a sudden life makes sense. All right, Ray, so do we have any questions from these guys? That's what we're looking for.
Not yet. I don't see any questions coming in.
Okay.
Either Bridget or Joy. But
what happened was the distractions and illusions became your reality and your belief system. Okay, so when that happened, you were really lost. That's when your guides talk about, and have said many times in our sessions with you, where they watched you get lost. All right. But they never abandoned you. They've always been with you. You've never been alone, and you've always been guided. Now all that's changing. That's all changing, and it's not just changing for you, but it's changing for everybody in this life, because things have changed in the world. The world is now shifting and speeding up, the merry-go-round, speeding up. It's showtime. It's time to step it up and really get this together, get this right. In fact, that's why next week the guides are going to start talking about the spiritual meaning of what's going on in your world. It's taking all this to its next level. And the guides have chosen to do that. They know something we don't. Isn't that the way it always works? Do we have any questions, Ray? We're still looking for them.
Not yet. I have a question.
Okay.
More or less an observation. Mm-hmm. The fact that you're not lost when you get here as a new person, you're connected, and then as you progress through your life, you get more and more away from that connection until you get to your 40s, 50s, 60s, and you feel that you'd like to reconnect. There's something wrong. There's something missing. So people start chasing all these different things. They go this way, they go to that retreat, they read these books, they do that. They follow a guru who tells them what they have to do.
Right.
You have to do this before you get this. But what's different about reconnecting with your guides this way, like through my guided journey, for instance, you don't have to do anything. You get to do something. That's the difference.
And what is that?
What is that thing? It's not a chore. It's just remembering.
Right. It's stepping back into it.
Right. It's
Right.
remembering how you felt, what you did when you first got here.
Yeah. And that's really what it's all about. It's simple. It's so simple, it's difficult. And what Ray's referring to is what happened was the distractions and illusions became your reality and belief systems. When that happened, it was just a matter of time before you started to question things and say, wait a minute, something's missing and this doesn't feel right. And sometimes it happens when you're a kid. Most of the time it happens after you're an adult, and you try out all the things that the people in this world who were here before you got here told you to do. And so you went through all that thinking, well, maybe they know a little more than you do. And so you moved that way when really in here you knew that something wasn't a fit, only to get down the road and have that marriage and those kids and, you know, all the stuff that goes with it, and get to the point where you go, wait a minute, it's my turn now, and I'm going to refer to myself. I'm going to look into this from my own perspective, from my own mind, not from what I've been told to think and do. And most of all, not really care about what people think you do, because that's what kept you trapped in the illusions for so long. You know, once you bought into it, you couldn't be a traitor, but now you are.
It would seem so easy just to remember, but you have to have triggers, I guess, to go back and remember.
Yeah, and that's where you guys already know this, but that's where the companion journal to guided comes into play. This is where you go back in part 2, and you take your journey back and reclaim yourself from where you got lost way back there. All right. So that's how that happens, and that's why that book is out. That's why it was written, and that's going to be a big part of the project this year.
There's about a half a dozen people on now. Explain how My Guided Journey is different than any other journal.
You explain it.
Okay. Well, a journal.
I just wrote it. What do I know? You know?
A journal to me.
Yeah.
You know, back when we were kids, we had diaries. We didn't have journals. We had diaries, and we wrote in our diary what happened that day.
This is what Ray's talking about.
And how it made us feel. Right?
Right.
Happy, sad, whatever. And then as you got a little older, diaries became journals where you wrote more often, and you had a continuum of what was going on in your life. But here, you're actually going backwards through your life.
Okay, so what Ray's talking about is a journal writing wasn't necessarily a spiritual adventure. All right.
Right.
This is specific to your spiritual connection to your guides, where you came in to this world connected. You didn't think about it that way when you first came here. You just were connected. It was just the way it was until the people in this world started to teach you what they learned from being here. And they learned that from their parents, and their parents learned that from their parents. And I mean, it just goes on and on. So nobody really ever took the time to stop and realize what really happened once they first got here. They didn't really think about it. They just followed all this instruction that was already here to acclimate to this world. All right. That's where this will break through all that. It will do, really what this does, it reminds you who you were when you first got here. It reminds you of what you knew, what you brought with you, and who you are. That's what this does.
I mean, you can't avoid learning the wrong things, but you would never think that your parents or the schools or society or the government or religion or anything would teach you the wrong thing.
Oh, yes, you do. You all knew it. Yes, you do. As soon as you start walking back through part 2 of My Guided Journey, you will all remember it. Some of you will be upset about it, angry. Some of you will be insulted that they didn't give you more credit, you, the real you, more credit for you, all right? Instead, they just pushed all this on you. Okay, so you need to get through that right away, okay? You don't need to get stuck in the drama and all the trauma that went on here. You need to look at it objectively, not taking it personally, so you can move right through it. And it's going to ask you to do the writing in here about what happened at those particular times in your life. And this is what guided teaches right here. When you read guided, you're reading about my journey and how I did it, all right? This is your journey, and this is how you do it now that you have a roadmap on how to do it, all right?
So the journaling, even though this is the second part of the guided journal system, the journaling comes after all the triggers, where you take yourself back through your life.
Okay, so what Ray's talking about, part 2 is my guided journey. That's your journey back, so you can reclaim yourself. Part 3 is my journal writing.
Show them that one.
It looks almost like the same book, but what it does is inside my journal writing, it's just journal writing pages. That's all it is. It's not going back and taking the journey. It's going forward on your journey, all right? Okay, so anyway, that's these 2 books, and this is the most important one to get first, is My Guided Journey. It's on available on Amazon.
Questions, but a couple comments.
All right.
One from Hannah. Hannah says, so true, sometimes the rules aren't right, and we were also treated unfairly.
Right, right. And so the whole point to this is once we get ourselves back, Hannah, once we do that, we go back and we see where we got off track. And we see, first of all, the first thing you're going to realize when you go all the way back, when the first thing you're going to remember is where you got scared. You got scared. All of you did. Something happened, your parents said, no, or some kind of shock came at you when you were in your bliss. You were still connected. You weren't really here. You were here, but you were more connected to where you came from. And then when somebody from here did something that shocked you, and it happened to everybody, it might have been the moment you were born and you got this, all right? It could have been that. But you got shocked, and from that point forward, you were like, oh, you know, I want to get this right. Oh my God, I don't want to feel like that again. What do you need me to do? What do you need me to think? Who do you need me to love? I will do it. Don't do that again. Don't hurt me again. And that's where you go back and you override that. You realize where you've caved in and you got pulled into this world at the expense of totally relinquishing the world you came from. That's when you got lost, all right? And Guided teaches you how to reclaim that. What Guided teaches is Guided changes lives, the book Guided. My Guided Journey restores lives. And that's what I'm talking about here, all right?
And Joy says, so many things we learned in life we accepted without questioning just because it was commonly accepted.
True. That's precisely what I'm talking about, Joy. You've got it. And, you know, when you realize this, when you can actually make a statement like you did, Joy, just exactly like you did, you've awakened. You can't ever go back to this and let that run your life and rule you. It will never work. Because now that you know the difference, you know how they say once you know something, you can never go back? That's what that is.
I have a question. How do you handle the anger once you realize that you were sold a bill of goods, taught the wrong things?
You write it in here, and that's why you take the journey back. You do the writing. You talk about how it felt, what you realized, and what action you took, all right? And some of it's going to be not real eloquent. It won't be real nice. I know there's several parts of this where it sets people off, but it's not meant to do that. But if it does do that, then it needs to be flushed out. That's where you got lost. That's where we're looking for you to resurface. I'm talking about the real you, the one who came here that was full of you, all of you, all right? That's sometimes you've got some anger in there that you need to work through, and you will find you. Anger is over here, all right? It's being pulled into it, into the drama and the trauma and taking it personally and all that kind of stuff. Over here, you don't take anything personally. You just look at it wide-eyed. Remember? Look at the baby's face. It's totally open. It doesn't have anything to defend or protect. Nothing. That's who I need you to go back to reclaim who that is that came here and the gifts that it brought with it. This is how you're going to find it.
Okay, Joy. Joy says, can you go back and reconnect with your guides and then lose that connection again?
Yes. Happens all the time. The most common way it happens, let's say you've got a really strong connection to your guides, Joy. Everything's good. Then all of a sudden something crashes in on your world and terrifies you. It's called fear. In the instant that fear hits you, you feel it, the full blow of it just knock you down. In that instant that happens, you forget who you are and your guides can't reach you. Because, see, the guides can only reach you when you are present, because that's where they reside. They reside in the present moment. So if you're not in the present moment, how can they reach you? It's a disconnect. That's why I always talk about the connection. It's about the connection. You don't always need all this guidance, okay? But you need to stay connected. Now, let's take a situation, in my case, Guided, chapter 15, when Mark was killed. I went into shock. It was way over my head. I saw it all coming. I knew it was coming for a week. It came, it happened, and guidance just took my life over like I was a pawn in a game and moved me right through it. Here, do this now, do that now, make that call, do all this stuff. And that's all I could do. It was like I was a pawn in a game. But the whole point to that is I was in the best of care. I was in better care than anybody on the planet could have done for me. I had my guides, and they were helping me take every step through that horrific event. So many times when guidance comes through, when it catches you off guard, is when you go through some trauma, some kind of an event that's just, it's too much. You go into shock. It's a form of shock. And when you go into shock, you guys, wow, you're open. You can't feel any pain. You're not connected to all this that's going on. It's too much. It's too fast. Okay, that's when your guides can reach you too. But hopefully you don't have to go into shock to make this connection to your guides and to stay connected to your guides, all right?
So the key is avoiding all the panic and the fear.
Yeah. Sometimes it's unavoidable. But in my case, I was just devastated. I don't know, there's something about me, 20 months old when my mom almost killed me. I opened right up. And that's when they appeared all around me. So there's something about this thing with the fear, where in my case, fear, when it showed up in my life, it was too much for me. I don't know why that is, but it was too much for me, and I just pulled out of it. I popped through it. I couldn't handle the fear. It just didn't make sense to me from the beginning of my life. I couldn't connect with the fear because for me, the cost of disconnecting from my guides was greater than the fear.
So fear means something or someone else is controlling you. But the connection means you're in control.
It means that not only are you in control, but you have help. And I mean, you have the best kind of help. You have the guides, the helpers who agreed to see you through this life. All right? All the way through. Every minute of the day. They're always with you. Nobody in the world could offer you that. And then add the clarity to it, the clarity and the truth and the love. How could anyone on this planet even begin to give that to you? Even yourself. If you're not connected, you don't have that. And that's what guided teaches. It teaches you how to have that.